Good morning to my friends and family, and my voice is a lot better today than what it was over the past couple of days. I've been very hoarse following the May Day march here in Sydney back on Monday, so today's Thursday, so it's taken me 3 days to recover, believe it or not, from the shouting and carrying on. And it looks like it's going to be another windy Sydney autumn day today. Bit of breeze, not here, but up the top there. So hopefully that'll blow the clouds away and keep them away and generate yet another beautiful Sydney autumn's day. It's quite calm down here at Darling Harbour. It's quite secluded here with all the buildings around, and the preparations are well underway for the Vivid Festival, which will be commencing shortly, I think. And I can't wait to come down one night, bring my granddaughters and indulge in one of the beautiful festivals that Sydney has to offer. Sydney has by far come a long way over the past 20 or 30 years with infrastructure investment, with buildings and with precincts where you can come and spend time with loved ones. And it is an honour to be able to get out and about, especially over the past couple of years where we've been shut down with COVID. Seems like ages ago, but by the same token it also seems just like yesterday when this time a couple of years ago we'd be restricted in terms of where we could go, who we could go and see, and what we could do. Anyway, what I'd like to do today is continue the tradition of Jim's 5am Club and go through a book summary. And the book summary that I'll cover today is entitled Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. So it's a book which deals with the financial aspects of our lives, and we'll go through and try and figure out a couple of life hacks in terms of what we can do to make the most of the money that we earn and to live a better lifestyle. So what the author kicks off with here is an interesting sort of quote to get us thinking, to get us in the mood, to stimulate us, where she says that if you live to have it all, what you have is never enough, because the lack of money makes us crave it even more. So whatever we do, whatever sums of money we come across, doesn't matter how successful, how rich we are, what the author here is saying is that regardless of how much you have, how much you're gifted, it's never ever going to be enough. And I remember learning this at economics class, because our wants and needs will always surpass our means to be able to achieve those things. What happens is that we keep on pushing ourselves. Society creates a paradigm for us to compare and contrast ourselves to others and to never be satisfied, to always want more and more, thinking that happiness, that satisfaction comes from accumulating and by sampling more of what life has to offer. But as you get older as you get into your senior years, you learn very quickly that life isn't about material things, but it's more about the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with your close family, your close friends, and of course the relationship that you have with your Creator, with God. And the most important thing of all is to take our charismata, our gifts, our God-given gifts, and to put them to good work, to serve and glorify God in everything we do, and also to serve and help each other in whichever way we can, because it's a game of surfing. It's a game of give and take. There are times when we're going to have more than enough to satisfy ourselves, and that's the time where we need to share those elements with others. And there are going to be times where we're not going to have quite enough, and hopefully others will be able to supplement and complement our needs with some of their excesses at that particular time of life. One of the big challenges in life is realizing as early as possible that one of the missions, one of the key goals in each person's life is to be generous, to be a citizen of the world, and not to be selfish, not to be indulgent, and not to think that all that comes your way in terms of luck, in terms of skills, in terms of money, is just there for your own selfish pursuits, so to speak. Indeed, we need to invest in ourselves to make ourselves as good, as best as we can. And then once you get to a certain point where you've accumulated your skills, your network, your money, then to leverage it and to use it to bring goodness to others and goodness into the world. So the author here reminds us of how it's important to understand that we're on a treadmill. We're on a hedonistic treadmill which just keeps us in the same spot. The more we make, the more we earn, the more we experience. We don't feel any different or any better. We just need more and more just to get the same hit. So it's a little bit like a drug. And I recall having a chat with my Uncle George, who was a successful businessman in his own right many years ago. He made quite a bit of money, and he told me that money doesn't guarantee happiness. He said, "Dimitrio, τα λεφτά δεν σου δίνουν τη δόξα, δεν σε κάνουν ευτυχισμένο. It doesn't guarantee happiness." But one thing he did say is that not having money means that you're going to probably be miserable for most of your life. I also remember going to a seminar with my cousin Kostas Kathriptakis and seeing Zig Ziglar many years ago. It was one of those Amway functions which was quite interesting, and they had a guest speaker who was Zig Ziglar, who's a fantastic, unbelievably good motivational speaker. And during his rev up there, during his keynote address, said to everybody that money isn't everything. He reminded everybody in the audience that money isn't everything. But he says, while it's not everything, it's probably only just second to oxygen. I remember him saying that, and I just laughed, and the audience just went off. because being an Amway sort of event, everybody's into their money and into, being as financially successful as possible. But the author here then warns us, issues a very, very important warning, saying that we shouldn't waste our life just pursuing money. And everybody's going to have an opportunity to make money, to work, to do lots of things during their lives. But we also have to understand is that we are all going to experience our own fate. Not everything we do is going to be successful. Just because your mother, your father, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents were able to achieve certain things doesn't mean that you are going to be guaranteed of those things, regardless of whether or not you follow the rules and tick all the check boxes, because each of us, as I mentioned before, is going to have their own fate. We're going to live a different past, a completely different past to anybody else who has ever lived or is ever going to live on the planet. We're going to experience a different now, a different present. I am here, you are somewhere else, and we're all going to most certainly experience a different future. So as I mentioned, as the author mentioned, we all have a different fate, and even if we do exactly the same thing as what other people are doing, there is absolutely no guarantee that that is going to deliver the same outcome. But we shouldn't lose heart. We need to continue trying, continue to attempt to achieve the things that we want to achieve, but to change our method of approach and to vary it up so that we can also invite fate to benefit us wherever possible. So the author, as a call to action, mentions here that what we mustn't do is that we mustn't waste our lifetime just trying to be financially rich. There are many more pursuits that we need to do. And I remember going to another seminar with a friend of mine, Bill Karagounis, that the St George Bank had put on a number of years ago, where he talked to the audience about superannuation. And he asked a very, very profound question. Now, I've got to tell you, it was a profound moment in my life. It was a real important wake-up call for me and many in the audience. When he asked the question, essentially everybody has to ask themselves this question on a regular basis. How much is enough? How much is enough for me? And that answer to that question is completely different. Some people will say, $1 million is enough, or some will say $1 billion is enough, and yet others will say the pension is enough, just to have time to spend with my wife, just pottering around the house and playing the odd game of golf and travelling, to and fro to favourite destinations is more than enough for me to be happy. So each person needs to be careful that they don't waste their lives working and working and working, doing the same thing over and over again in order to be rich and missing out on the richness of what life has to offer. So in terms of practicalities, the author here gives us a few hints and chats to us. And one of the things that the author talks about here is that we first need to do some maths, we need to do some homework, we need to do some calculations, and we must first calculate our net worth. We must calculate what our total expenses are and what we're earning to the last detail. What the author says is, if you don't take it seriously, if you don't do the measurements properly, and and do all the calculations, then you're just going to be kidding yourself. So you need to have an eye for detail. You need to capture where all your money is coming from, how much wealth you've been able to accumulate to date, and what you're spending your money on, and then to be able to then flex or to contract so that you're not spending more than what you're earning, so that you get yourself on a good path to build a nest egg and to prepare for your future. So the author here says that we need to improve our relationship. We need to improve our relationships with all of those around us. We need to improve the relationship with money. We need to improve our relationship with God. We need to improve our relationship with ourselves, with our partner, with our friends, our family, our work peers. And we basically need to calibrate and to try and do as best we can wherever we can. And to ask ourselves, how much do we spend and what do we spend it on, and whether or not what we're spending it on is going to lead us to satisfaction and to a better, more sustainable future. Now, how much have we earned over the past 10 years? And how much have we got of what we've earned? Did we blow it? Did we piss it up the wall on drugs, on alcohol, on cigarettes, on silly holidays? You only get one chance when you're young, and some people blow that chance thinking that they're going to be healthy, thinking that they're going to be employed, thinking that they're going to have all the opportunities in the world. But a lot of those opportunities, come to people at a young age. I myself have been made redundant five times within my work life. And I know that as you get older, it gets harder to hold on to your job, especially when you're working in corporate Australia, when you're working in some of those buildings there, that the time will come when you've got a 4 or a 5 or a 6 in front of your age, and you can no longer pull, or you're no longer as attractive, you're no longer considered to be relevant, and then you're pushed out and made to move away. Every time there's an economic downturn, I can guarantee you the first ones who are put on the redundancy list are the ones who are the oldest in the office in terms of age. And whilst experience may be important, when it comes to redundancies, it's just a numbers game. And what they tend to do, and what my experience has been to date, is that the oldest ones get squeezed out first. The ones who are earning the biggest dollars, the ones who have been involved in the organisation for the longest, are the ones who get pressed and pushed out. So be careful and understand that these moments, these days that you have are very, very precious, and you basically got to, save your dollars, invest your dollars, build your capability so that you can have a better and more secure future. So we need, according to this author, to build an evaluation system to assess if the life energy that we spend on work is worth the satisfaction received. Sometimes we bust our ass working and blow the money and don't get the bang for the buck. We don't get the satisfaction that we desire. We don't get the satisfaction that we thought that we'd be getting. So one of the key elements from this author is a need for budgeting. We need clear record of income and expenses. We need to be honest with ourselves and we need to, push ourselves to try and make sure that the energy that we have, the energy that we invest, is delivering on its promise in exchange for the dollars that we're getting. And we need to ask if what we are working for has a good life energy to pay ratio. And the author here gives us a good sort of example. 20 hours of work for one meal is not a good energy to money return. Now, is it worth it? Does it give us happiness, or does it make us unhappy? A lot of people who are earning certain amounts of money end up going on holidays, end up going to restaurants and just blowing a huge amount of money. So what you need to do, according to this author, is to try and calibrate it and estimate, and to say, how many hours do I need to work to have this experience that I'm currently experiencing? And if it's out of proportion, and if it's out of kilter and out of whack, yes, do it every now and then, but don't do it on a regular basis, because it's going to make you poor, and it's not going to give you that ratio of fun to workload. So the author then here encourages us to let our money make more money for us while you focus on other aspects of your life. You need to save and invest. We've said that time and time again. Our parents have told us time and time again. Everybody tells us that time and time again. But we need to try and put some money away for that rainy day, and not to just blow it and just be happy for the moment, just to ensure that our Instagram account or our Facebook or our social media page has lots of wonderful photos. We need to put aside 6 months worth of expenses in order to be protected, especially during these tough times when the banks are continually increasing interest rates for money borrowed and making it harder and harder for us to get by, and harder to cover our expenses with the cost of living pressures that we're all experiencing. And the last point that the author makes in this book, Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin, is that we need, wherever possible, to have multiple sources of income, to have multiple ways of making money, to be able to help fund the lifestyle that we want for ourselves, we want for our partners, we want for our children, and we want for our grandchildren. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where today it is much stiller over here at Darling Harbour. Yesterday I was blowing a gale down here where I was, and it looks like it's going to be, now that it's getting lighter and lighter, an absolute cracker of a sunrise. As I say, I wish I was up there on the harbour bridge today, just to look across to the east, across the harbour, across the Opera House, and see the sunrise that'll be happening, I guess, in the next half an hour at some point. But I'm still happy to be where I am, and to be at work, and to be fit and healthy. And I look forward to coming to you again from another place where we can chat again. Yes, that's everybody. Bye for now.